Welcome to the sixth lecture of Economics and Management. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about demand forecasting. But before proceeding further, let me clear one thing that demand is different from the sale. Sale is something when company delivers product to the customers and they get money from it, while demand is a potential value of the product required by the market. So this is the difference between demand and sale. Now we will talk about demand forecasting. In this lecture, we are going to cover demand forecasting, what is meaning of demand forecasting, need of demand forecasting, some techniques that we are going to use for demand forecasting, and input output model. Now, what is meaning of demand forecasting? Estimating a future potential value of the product is known as demand forecasting. Estimating a future potential value of demand is very difficult because demand is very uncertain and there are so many factors which affect the demand. There are so many internal as well as external factors that affects the demand. So it is very difficult to forecast a demand. Now, need for demand forecasting or uses of demand forecasting. First is capacity planning. Once we know how much amount of product or what is the potential value of product in the future required by the market, then we can plan a capacity of company. If capacity is less, we can increase the capacity by some means. Capacity planning is done in respective with the forecasted demand in a long term. Once the capacity is known, we can do a production planning. As a long-term demand is taken into consideration while planning a capacity, a short-term demand is taken into consideration while doing a production planning. Once we have planned the production, we can plan how to produce it at inventory level, how many workers to use, at how much time the machinery we are going to use. Once the planning is done at inventory level, we can plan for purchase of input materials. Once we know how much amount of product is demanded by the market, we can make capacity planning. After doing capacity planning, we can go for production planning. Once we know how to produce and what to produce, we will execute it at inventory level. For executing it at inventory level, we have to buy input materials. So once we know the demand, we can plan how much input materials we should buy. Next is, if we know the future demand, we can plan distribution network. In which area we have to distribute the product and by which means we have to distribute the product. Next, management of working capital. Once we know how much amount of product we have to produce, we can manage the working capital. Means we can manage number of workers, how many workers we required. If we want more workers, we can recruit it. If we want less workers, we can do that. We can manage money, we can manage machinery. So management of working capital and pricing policy. Once we know the future demand, we can manage our pricing policy depending on the investment we are doing. Let me give you one example of this. Let's say in 2020-21, we have forecasted the demand X. That is, we have to produce X amount of sanitizers for 2021. So for whole year 2021, X amount of sanitizers we are going to produce. So for producing X amount of sanitizers, whether our company is having sufficient capacity of producing that amount of demand, we can manage this thing into a capacity planning. If our capacity is less, we can increase it by some means. Next, production planning. Now we know the capacity of our company, we can manage the production. at in the month of January how much amount of sanitizers we have to produce, in month of February how much amount of sanitizers we have to produce, so that we can achieve X amount at the end of year. Then planning at inventory level. At inventory level, what actions we must take so that we can achieve our demand. Then planning of input materials. Obviously, if we know what amount of production we have to do, we can buy input materials. So we can buy input materials in 2020 itself for our for achieving our future demand. Then planning of distribution network. Once we know how much we have to produce, we can manage our distribution network. Like we can decide in which area we have to sell the products and by which means we have to sell the products. And management of working capital. If we know the capacity planning, production planning, what input we have to take, how to distribute it, then we can manage a working capital also depending on your future demand. We can manage the power that we are going to use, we can manage the workers we are going to use, and we can manage the money. And depending upon the investment that we are going to do for producing a future demand, we can decide the pricing policy. Now next, there are various techniques that we are going to use for demand forecasting. There are three methods: qualitative analysis, time series analysis, and econometric models. So for qualitative analysis, there are again two parts. First is expert opinion survey and second is consumer survey. In expert opinion survey, there are three methods. First is personal insight, second is panel consensus, and third is Delphi method. While in consumer survey, there are two sub-methods. First is sample survey method and second is end use method. Now, what is meaning of personal insight? For calculating a potential value of product into the future, using personal insight method, we are going to take opinion of an expert. Now, in this case, we are going to take opinion of a single person, provided that that person is having a great experience into that field and he is having extraordinary knowledge about that field. Now, what is the drawback of this field? What is the drawback of this method? As we are going to take opinion of a single person, his opinion may be totally correct or his opinion may be totally inaccurate. So this is drawback of personal insights. Now, second is panel consensus. In personal insight, we are going to take opinion of a single person. While in this panel consensus method, we are going to take opinion of more than 2 to 3 persons, or we are having panel in which we are having more than one persons, like more than one persons, and we are going to take opinion based on interview. So that interview may be a telephonic interview or that may be a personal interview. What happens in this case? As we are going to take opinion of more than one person, it will bring various factors that affects your forecast, and more than one opinion gives great degree of confidence. Again, what is the drawback of this method? Let's say there are 5 persons into the panel and 2 persons having more experience than other 3 persons. Then that 2 persons can bias their decision, right? Or that 2 persons decision will get affected to the remaining person's decision. So a well-known personality can bias the opinion of others. And again, as you know, publicly made opinions are difficult to change. So this is panel consensus. Next is Delphi method. What we are going to do in Delphi method? There is again panel of members, but instead of taking interviews, we are having some questionnaires or set of questions. Now, in first round, we will send a set of questions to every member of the panel. Now they will send their answers and and you will send the summary of responses is sent back to each individual, and there are so many rounds of survey like this. So what happens in first rounds, it will generate a various dimensions of the forecast, and after getting a quantitative responses in the subsequent rounds, so every time summary of responses is sent back to every member. After getting summary of responses every round, you will have a statistical measures to come to the final decision among the panel members. So this is Delphi method. Next is sample survey method. In this case, you will have a potential number of customers, capital N. From that, you will choose n number of small n number of customers. So estimate potential number of customers n, capital N. Decide a fraction of potential customers for a survey. Let's say you have chosen small n customers. Then randomly sample a customers for a survey, right? Find their future requirements. Whatever number of customers you have chosen, find their future requirements and estimate the market demand, that is average requirement of all the customers. So that will be 1 by n, that is small n means a number of fractional potential customers you have chosen for the survey, plus x1 requirement of first customers plus x2 requirement of second customer, likewise plus xn requirement of nth customer into capital N, that is estimated potential number of customers. So in this way you will calculate the requirement of customers. Next is end use method. End use method uses input output model. Till now we have seen the future requirement of the customers in the market, but this method is useful in making consumption demand projection of the various industries, right? Let's say there is a sugar industry. Now what is requirement of sugar industry? So what will be the future demand of that sugar industry? Or let's say there is a steel industry. Now steel industry requires coal. Now what is future demand of coal for that particular industry? And it is useful for planning at a national level. It is useful for planning at national level. And what is input output model? So there are few mathematical terms that we have used. Xi is output of industry I. Xic is consumption of demand of industry I. Consumption demand of industry I. For example, let's say coal industry, steel industry. Then Xic is coal demand of industry I. Now imports of industry I. How much industry I is importing? XIE, export by industry I. How much industry I is exporting? XIF, final consumption demand of industry I. Let's say for steel industry, final demand of coal for that steel industry. And AIJ, fraction of output industry J consumed in industry I. Now let's say there is one industry who is producing coal or who is obtaining coal from some areas. Then that coal is output of coal industry which is used by steel industry. So fraction of output of industry J consumed in industry I. So the final consumption of demand of industry I is calculated as XIC, that is consumption of industry I, consumption demand of industry I, that is let's say coal is consumed by steel industry, plus XIM, imports of industry I, how much industry I is importing, minus XIE, how much industry I is exporting. So this is final demand of industry X. Now how this X is calculated? X1 equals to A11 X1. So again in this case A11 is fraction of output of industry 1 consumed in industry I, plus A12 means what? Fraction of output of industry 1 consumed in industry 2. Likewise, again for x2, A21 means fraction of output of industry 2 consumed in industry 1. Likewise, and x1 x2 is output of industry x1 x2. So this can be shown as xf, that is the vector of final consumption demand plus exports net of imports of various goods, equals to I, that is identity matrix, minus A, the matrix of input output coefficients, that is A11 and A12, its inverse, into x. The x is the consumption of industry I, or output of industry X. So we will stop for today. Thank you so much.